I'm really overwhelmed by getting that kind of attention, but it's great. This is an exciting evening for me to have a chance to share with all of you a celebration of having survived 14 years in the Idaho legislature and looking forward to this campaign for Congress. This is such a wonderful assembly of people. I could go around the room and say something about each person here. But I would like to begin by recognizing the work of John Rushi. Thank you, John, for the introduction, and believe me, in the Idaho legislature, we could not have a better minority leader. John is highly intelligent, well-spoken, and a very effective leader. So it's been a pleasure to serve with him as well as with Dan Schmidt, who has been on the Senate side while I've been serving in the House. But it's wonderful to have these two physicians who have such a great background in medicine. And it's just been so helpful because healthcare has been a huge issue for us in recent time, and these two really know what they're talking about, and there aren't very many Republicans there that know what they're talking about at all, so that has been wonderful. And also, as I look around the room, I see members of my family that I want to thank for all of their support. John is somewhere. Stacy is giving up a good portion of her life here this year to help me with the campaign, and just looking around here, you can see what a wonderful job she's done putting together this event for us, so that we have a chance to. And then I have my son Sean and his wife Tiffany over here. So, and others are Nancy Cheney and Gary. Nancy has just personified everything that's great. And we certainly appreciate everything that you have done for us as mayor of this town. You've done an absolutely good job. So we appreciate that. And we have some good candidates that are going to carry on our tradition here. I think we can absolutely sweep the election this time with the talent that we have. So let me just mention those. By the way, can you hear all right?
Yeah. Yes.
All right. So Paulette Jordan. Just narrowly missed having a victory for us 2 years ago, and we are confident that this year she's going to go over the top. And I know that most of you have met her, and you know how absolutely intelligent and lovely she is, and she'll be wonderful in the legislature. She sat in for me for a few days during this legislative session, and it kind of reminded me of my teaching days. You never want your substitute to be too good. People aren't that glad to see you come back, and I was doing some of that when Colin sat in for me. So you have to be careful with those decisions for sure. Gary Osborne is running for the seat I'm vacating, and I have every confidence. Is Gary still? You're still here. Good. Stand up. Gary has been on the Troy School Board and lives outside of Troy, and we know that he is going to win, and we know that he's going to do a wonderful job. And then, of course, Dan Schmidt will be running for re-election, and we don't doubt for a minute that he will. We have some county commission candidates. Tom Lamar here is running for. I miss? Anybody?
Very good.
Did everybody?
Yeah.
Oh, yes, good. Two things I need to mention. Yes, stand up there, Pete. Pete Gertson is from Lewiston, and he ran for the legislature 2 years ago and came very close. And again, we know that he's going to prevail this time, and he's been very active in the Democratic Party down there in Lewiston. So he's paid his dues for sure. Is John Bradbury still here? Stand up, John. John's running for judge. John actually served, how long?
8 years.
2 years?
8 years.
8 years. In kind of Grangeville and around that
Orfino and Nespers.
district, and everybody appreciated the job that he did. So he deserved your vote as well.
The primary is the election.
And that's right, don't forget, for those judge positions, the primary is the decider.
Yep.
Democrats have been traditionally lazy, and I'm not saying any of you, when it comes to voting in the primary. So be sure that you do it, because for John Bradbury, he either wins then or that's the end of it, right?
Right.
So be sure to get out there and vote. So I'm sure that I wish I had time to go around and say something about each one of you, because we have a lot of very special people in this room. I'm going to mention two more before I go on. Judy Brown ran for the state legislature twice and came very close. Anybody that understands tax policy better than Judy, and it would have been a tremendous asset to have her elected. And I think had she been willing to try it a third time, she'd be there, but it's a lot to ask of anybody to do that. So she's always a good resource in any event. And then I think we have Senator Betty Benson here, who served in the 1990s for us. And those that are here working on my congressional campaign, Corey Crowley Hall is my research person. Johnson back there is my media communications specialist, and both of those help me look a lot smarter than I am, so I appreciate that. Been helping me. My other one on the staff so far is Shirley Wood, who lives in Boise, so she's not here. In fact, I think she's starting some sort of a cruise today, so she wouldn't be here at any event. So I'm really a lucky woman to have all of you here this evening, and I feel I've been very fortunate to have a great career. First in teaching. My teaching career started in Seattle, teaching junior high school there. I don't know if I want to tell you the year, but maybe I'll let it slip out. It was 1962. And I really loved every minute of that job teaching junior high. It was a great challenge, and the children were always entertaining, and I learned there in a hurry that I would never get ahead of the kids. Sometimes I thought I could, and I'd make a stab at it, but just an example, occasionally in Seattle while we were there it would snow. Not very often, but we'd have a snowfall, and it always made traffic terrible, and it made the students get very excited. And I taught out in a portable classroom, so the main building itself was kind of up on a hill, and then we go down the hill, and then there was a portable classroom. And during one of our snowy days, I had to send a couple of kids to the main building, and I chose these two particular boys. And as soon as I chose them, I thought, why would I have done that? Because they were probably not the two I'd send out in the snow to do anything and trust them. But thinking I'd get ahead of them, I said, when you two come back, I'm going to check your hands, and they better be warm and dry. So they left, gone a while, they'd come back. Well, they had put their hands in their pockets and rolled down the hill. So their hands were warm and dry, but the rest of them was still coated with snow, so
Been there,
that was
done that.
just a typical example of trying to get a step or two ahead of those kids. Another story I might relate from those days, women's issues sort of were kept under the radar for quite some time, and finally we stepped in the days of what we called women's liberation, or women's lib. So when that was going on, it was kind of hard for the gentlemen to adjust to having us really assert ourselves. And there was an evening that I was supposed to go to a meeting of the Seattle Teachers Association because we were considering going on strike. I can't remember what we were upset about, but we were going to have this meeting and make the decision. So I left that evening to attend the meeting, and as soon as I walked into the room, I was looking around for somebody I knew, and I noticed not only I didn't see anybody I particularly knew, but the room was full of men, no women, and they all seemed to get quite a kick out of the fact that I was even there, and came and invited me to sit in the front seat. So the thing that developed there was that I had gone to the wrong place for my meeting, and that was a meeting of football referees. And they thought that I was there as a women's lib thing to so that a woman could go there if she wanted to be so. That turned out to be a pretty good experience. So after John finished his degrees at the University of Washington, he moved to Pullman to start with because John had a position at Washington State University, and eventually I got a job at Moscow High School, where I first encountered my good friend Sue Levy. Well, that was an experience in itself. If you know Sue, you know what I'm talking about. At the first faculty meeting, Sue has heard me tell this story a number of times, but we had this new, maybe I've told it so many times, it might have been a lie the first time, I don't know. I'm starting to believe it myself now in any event. So there was a new assistant principal who seemed quite full of himself. And he spent quite a bit of time at our first faculty meeting telling us how he wanted us to handle the situation if kids came to class late. Well, it was such an issue that I was starting to wonder how I was going to teach any math, or if I was just going to deal with whatever happened when kids came in late. And I was starting to wonder if I'd even signed up for the right school where to teach. But after that got quite a ways down the line, Sue raised her hand and she said, Sue's Texas accent gets a little thick when she's trying to be charming. So Sue raised her hand and she said, you know, I just don't believe I'm going to do that. So, it put a big squelch on the whole thing. So spent all of his time planning, and that didn't go so well. I also remember with Sue one time when she rewarded some teachers that had done extended learning projects for her gifted talented program by having a hot tub party up on the third floor of Moscow High School, and essentially it was one of those big metal tubs filled with hot water, and she served wine. She was discovered by the principal, who didn't appreciate the whole thing. We had some great times there. So in 1992, I started chairing the Latah County Democrats, and actually, we had kind of a bad year that year. There was a great deal of dissension in the ranks because of hard feelings that had come up during a particular primary election. And it actually cost us seats in the 1992 election because some of our solid Democrats were busy pouting and didn't help with the election. So we really lost some critical seats that year. So I was left chairing the county Democrats, and we had 3 Republicans. serving. And one of my jobs was to recruit people to run as Democrats, which was never easy because we didn't have a great track record for a little while there. So in 1998, after having a great deal of difficulty recruiting somebody to run, I gave in and recruited me. You know, I couldn't say no to myself, so I said that I would do it, and partly I was pushed along by some friends that took me out for 2 margaritas. So the real truth is it was a 2 margarita decision. But anyway, I surprised myself and won, so that was really good. In the first 2 years, I tried to keep my teaching job and served in the legislature, which turned out to be pretty tricky, didn't go really well. So I thought I should probably retire from teaching. I'd done about 38 years in public education and focus on the legislature. So in the 2000 election, I had retired so I could run for office, and I lost. That was not the greatest thing I have experienced because I'd given up a teaching job I loved to go ahead and pursue the legislature. And so I was unhappy about that. Plus, I'm competitive to a fault, so losing in any event isn't something that sits very well with me. But the person that beat me